Hey there, what's up? Guess what time it is? Another Monday evening. Now we're doing 7 p.m. Eastern Standard on this week's special exception to the rule. What's up? I hope you guys are having a super day. Welcome to Deets with Dr. A. I'm Deets with Dr. A. I am Dr. A, yours truly, Jason Ampel. I'm having an amazing day. What about you guys? You guys are having a great Monday. Our goal here is to make sure we start the week strong and set you up for success moving forward. So we got another superb show for you to hear today. But before we jump into today's guest, let's bring our main man, executive producer, Matt. What's up, Matt?
Hey, guys. What's going on? How are you?
I see you had a little trigger happy at the beginning there.
Oh, yes. I always do. It may be this. I'm not sure if you guys know, but today, July 27th, is National Scotch Day. So, salute.
Do you guys know that every day is a special day here in the United States? You get a special day of the week. So I don't know what that website is. Maybe we should find it and share with the folks out there.
We will. We'll pop it up in a second as soon as I take another swig. So,
all right, let's keep it rolling here. Just kidding. He's not really drinking scotch, ladies and gentlemen. That is iced tea. We're educators here. We don't drink alcohol. All right, so let's keep it moving here. So quick side note for you guys who are new to the Learning Liaisons. Here at the Learning Liaisons, we pride ourselves in preparing teachers across the United States to pass their various teacher certification exams. The next step in that process here at the Learning Liaisons is we're working towards developing professional development. So since my background is in curriculum instruction from the University of Central Florida, go Knights, we're going to be working towards that. So what better way to provide value to our thousands of teachers, educators, school leaders, even parents out there, to provide free value to you every Monday night with special guests. So that's what we do here at the Learning Liaisons. Our next step up is to provide this PD for you. So here we are, Deets with Dr. A. So I'm so honored that you spend another Monday night with us. If you are been here at our previous episodes, I can't believe we're episode 8, episode 9 here this week. We started June 1st, 2020. So we're doing this every single Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the exception of today, 7 p.m., because we just wrapped up a GK Math webinar and Praxis Core Math webinar with hundreds of teachers. And actually our special guest here tonight is our math director as well, and you'll meet him here in a second. So our job here at the Learning Liaisons is to provide educators and people just like you the support and motivation that you deserve. So before we bring on our special guest, do me a quick favor. If you're watching us live, take a screenshot, because most likely you're watching on your smartphone. Take a screenshot, post that bad boy on your social media, hashtag the Deets, and share this with your teacher friends and colleagues. If you're watching the recording on our YouTube channel, which a lot of people do, go ahead and grab that URL off the top, post it on your social media as well. We are providing this free value for you every single week. And if there's a topic that you want to learn about and you want us to bring on some special guest leaders in the field, let us know. And we will do our best to bring that content to you whenever you'd like it. So without further ado, what we're going to do here is we're going to bring on a special guest, but just a quick introduction that this special guest, and I'll let him talk about himself when he jumps on. But funny story is I do a lot of sponsoring of teacher events. And one of the events that I sponsored a couple of years ago was at my alma mater, University of Central Florida. Go Knights. Any Knights on there, please throw in the comment box. Be careful what university you do share, though, because I'll let our guests speak about that. But if you put on some West Coast universities here in the state of Florida, we might delete you from our subscription platform at YouTube. But that's for another story here. So I actually met this gentleman by chance. I was sponsoring an event at the University of Central Florida for the College of Education, and he was walking by with a friend, didn't have to be there, he was just tagging along, and he saw me and the prep courses, the video courses I was doing. We just started talking. Long story short is I recruited him to come on board and take his content knowledge and his excel in teaching math and put those things together, and we created hundreds and hundreds of videos. He actually created thousands of videos beforehand for calculus for high school students, but brought him on board, and he is the math director here at the Learning Liaisons. So let's bring on our special guest, Anderson Duran. You with us, Anderson?
Absolutely. How's it going, Jason?
Welcome. Thanks for being with us here tonight. I know you had a lot going on here today, so why don't you introduce yourself, give everyone a little story about yourself, what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Anderson. That's my first name. And so I have the privilege of being the director of mathematics and learning and development at the Learning Liaisons. And right now, currently, what I do is I actually own my own personal company, Duran Learning. And what I do is I coach military students or will be military service members to pass the ASVAB, which is the teacher or the version of the FTCE and Praxis course. So it's pretty much parallel, except for military service members. And on top of all that, I'm also a video consultant for Scholarden, a GRE company that's international as well.
Awesome. And how'd you get into, what's your journey into getting into teaching? How'd you get into that?
Oh man, it was a pretty long one, but I'll keep it pretty short here. Pretty much, I began my college endeavor just following my brother's footsteps. He was an aerospace engineer, and so I had no idea what college was about. I'm a first generation American, so I'm just like, all right, cool. I'll just follow his footsteps. Realized pretty quickly that it just really wasn't my fit, but I knew I enjoyed mathematics, and I knew that I enjoyed, being part of a project or being part of a team. And so long story short, I got an internship at Mitsubishi Power Systems my freshman year. And that's really what triggered me to switch majors, because although I was making a lot of money, I didn't particularly enjoy what I was doing. And so then I started teaching group exercise classes at UCF, teaching spin classes. And anybody who's watching who knows me, that was, man, I peaked in college basically. But basically, yeah, I taught spin for 6 years. But along that path, I realized my love for teaching. And then I realized my love for, helping people in mathematics and helping people succeed. You put that together, you get an educator. And so, yeah.
And how were your math teachers growing up? Is that kind of anything that sparked you to become a math teacher?
So my math teachers growing up, not particularly. I knew that I had a gift for doing mathematics. I just never really saw myself teaching it, because I was never really an articulate person until I took speech in college. So, my English and reading scores were actually pretty abysmal. But then when, in college, when I took speech class and then I started actually articulating myself in these group exercise classes, that's when I realized, oh man, there's a lot of information that I have that I can share with other people. And that's what sparked that love.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So let's get down to it. So just like the previous episodes, what we do is we have a series of discussion questions, and we might branch off in different avenues, but we're going to rotate through them. If anybody who's watching this live or even the recording on our YouTube channel, I'm going to ask you guys to post your comments and question as well. So if we're talking about something and you have a comment, you have a question for Anderson, go ahead and post that in the comment box as well. And we're going to address those. We'll throw them up on the screen. And if any of you guys during the course of the session want to join us and pop in the video and ask Anderson a question directly via video, we're going to share that link. Matt's going to have that link handy, and he's going to drop that in the comment box as well. And all you have to do is click on it and ask for access, and we'll pop you in and you can talk as well. So let's get rolling. So we'll start off easy. So obviously the topic of tonight is being organized and how to design your day. So I think the most logical point is to start with, how do you define being organized?
Sure. So simply put, organization or being organized is pretty much the art of achieving a goal with as little hiccups as possible, or as few hiccups as possible.
Awesome. All right. So what does this look like to you in real life? Organization.
Well, yeah, it doesn't, organization, a lot of people think that it's, focused to work. But that's not really the case. You can be organized in life, organized in relationships, organized, in just your own personal life and self-care. And so, easily the work is the easiest example to go through. But if we're talking about work, someone who's organized is someone who knows what needs to be accomplished at the end of the day, someone who can foresee potential hiccups or problems with a potential project coming up, and addresses any problems before they become problems, So basically, you can have two high-functioning people, one unorganized, one organized, and you can tell quite easily that the one that's organized is the one that is not as stressed as the other, right? The one that is confident that they know, hey, A, B, C are going to get done, and I have a fail-safe for certain situations that may present themselves, But yeah, just staying on top of potential problems.
Yep. And then this might look different for different people. Some people have their certain tools that they use to be organized. Other people have their set of things. They go about their day different ways. But like you said, the ultimate goal is to accomplish those goals that you have set forth. And if something doesn't get accomplished, and you have a plan to attack that the following day. And we're going to get into some specifics too as we roll through things that you use to become organized to help our viewers. So we're all educators here, yourself, myself, most of the people watching this live or the recording. As an educator, how do you feel? Why do you feel being organized is such an important thing? I know that might sound like an easy question to answer, but from your standpoint, what do you think?
Yeah, the kids, easily. The kids, if you're an educator, the kids are your single most important thing. Like that is it. So if you're not organized as an educator, you have to understand that every day that you're in front of these kids, you're there to send a message, to prepare them for life. And every day that you're actually not doing that, every day that you're not prepared, that's a day that you're robbing from them. And that's just my opinion. So you're going to take some days off. Like, you're going to not be at the school every day, or maybe you're going to come in, maybe you won't have a lesson plan. And that's all good and well. You're going to survive the day, but the long-term impact that you have on the kids, that's on you. That is always going to be on you. So it's so important for educators to be organized as best they can. It's not binary. It's not like you're organized or you're not. It's how organized are you? And so at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. And you just have to keep that in mind if you're going to be in education.
And it's an interesting for the perspective, because you answered it one way. If I asked the same question to 50 different people, maybe some people might say the kids, but other people might say for my own sanity.
Exactly.
Make sure I accomplish my goals, make sure I hit my objectives. So it's not saying that one's right or wrong. It's just your perspective comes into play also when we're talking about being organized. So that's a great answer. It's all about the end result, which is the kids in the classroom. So if you don't work as a teacher and you're watching this, well, what is your end result? Like, what do you do for a job? What do you do for a living? Is that something that applies to your family at the household, certain goals? Like, my wife says I got to take out the garbage and do all this stuff, but you're already smiling because you know my answer already. Tell me 10 times. So,
hi, Jamie.
She doesn't watch it. She's embarrassed. Anyway, so let's move on to the next question. So what are some signs of someone not being organized?
Stress is really the easiest indicator, for sure. Someone who, I guess, if they're starting a project or they're getting some sort of line of work done, and again, if they're presented with a problem or some unexpected event and they completely crumble, that's the easiest sign of disorganization that I can see. No matter how small or big it is, you can tell how organized someone is by how stressed they get from like unpredicted events.
So let me ask you a question. If someone has, like, let's say someone has a bunch of tasks, they're trying to be organized, they write it down, put it in their planner, and they don't accomplish them all, does that mean that they're failing at being organized then?
No, not at all. Okay. No, because the thing is, you know as well as I do as an entrepreneur, you never don't have a list of things to do. There's always an ongoing task to get to. So it's really not about how much you get accomplished. It's about how you get those things accomplished.
Gotcha.
Because if you have a list of 10 things to do, and let me actually just use a very intuitive example. Let's say every single room of your house is dirty, right? If you try to just go into, and I say, my learning liaisons people are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you go into one room and you fold one shirt, and then you go to the kitchen and wash one dish, and then basically you got shiny object syndrome going all over the place, right? Like at the end of the day, you did a lot. You go here, one shirt, one dish, maybe you scrub one piece of the floor there. Okay, cool. But what's going to happen? At the end of the day, you can work 12 hours and still have half the house to do. But if you stay in the same room and you focus on that room until that room is done and then move on to the next room, one, you have that sense of accomplishment that you got something done, which is always great for you. That dopamine hit, it's always great. And then two, you have everything else laid out in front of you. The order in which you're doing it. You can feel great that it will get done, as opposed to, allowing your ADHD to take over and, doing one thing, living. And then at the end of the day, you feel like you got nothing done. So that was usually that analogy in terms of, again, focus on one thing and don't let yourself get distracted from that thing until it's done, unless something with a higher priority takes over. But that takes a lot of discipline and self-awareness to understand what is a bigger priority than this right now. And is it necessary to tackle it right now? So yeah, it's a very hard process to build an organized mindset, but once you get there, it's worth it.
Awesome. And Brandon Over, I see your question more specific towards studying for math. We're going to tackle that one. I'll bring that up on the screen when we get to more specifics on examples there. But I see your question there, Brandon Over. It's a good question. All right. So how would you describe a typical day for a person with a plan who is organized?
Yeah. So someone who's organized, you got to have a routine. You got to have a routine, no matter what it is. You got to have a routine. Whether it's waking up at a certain time or having a certain set of things that you do before you get your day started. For sure. I remember a time in my life where it was wake up and get to work and go at it. And that was the easiest way that you could burn out ever. That's the way I found out that you can burn out very easily if you don't take care of yourself first. Because again, like I said earlier, organization is not just about getting things done. It's about self-care as well. So when you're organized, you make that time for yourself. You make that time to prepare yourself for your day. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to describe a typical day, I can use my day as an example. Typically, I try to get up, at least an hour and a half before I'm supposed to start my day, largely because I have to walk my dog and do certain other things. But at the same time, typically, I'll read at my desk before I start, or I'll write out, the tasks that I want to get done today that are part of that bigger weekly or monthly goal. Just making sure that what needs to get done is the first step. And then from there, kind of just recognizing that self-respect and sticking to that plan. The more you can stick to a plan, like I kind of associate it with my self-respect, which allows me to, have that pride there and I can get it done. Mm-hmm. But as long as you are sticking to what you said you would do, that is organization.
Okay. So that means do you have to actually make it real would you tell people to write things down or use a calendar on a whiteboard? Do you have to physically put all the tasks down on paper to make it real, or can people just fly by the things in their head and what they have to get done?
So that's actually a pretty good question because, I haven't studied that intensely in terms of like the scope of all people. But my answer to that would be no, you don't need a planner for everything, because there are days or weeks that, I'm in the middle of a huge project and I know exactly what needs to get done. And so I don't necessarily need to, not every day sit down and write my plan at my desk, because I already know that I'm in the middle of a big project. I know what step I'm on, and we're just going ahead and going through it. Now, there are certain people that have like this mental labyrinth, in their head, and they can stay organized and they can remember a lot of things. And, to each their own is what I'll say to that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I try writing things down. We try the list and cross that stuff out. But,
I remember.
I got a list at home. I got a list on my phone. I got a list on my desk. But it works out for the most part. We'll see what happens.
There's that one thing that you always forget, right?
Yeah. So in regards to being organized on a daily basis, what works for you personally?
Personally for me, so right now, running my company full time now, I have the privilege of having an assistant who helps me maintain my organization because, again, I'm running my company. I'm helping direct the learning liaisons, and then I'm the video consultant for Scholarden. So that's a lot, right? And each of those job roles has their own functions. So I've been fortunate enough to use an assistant, but not everybody has that luxury, right? So before that, I had a planner. I had a huge planner, a type of planner that had like a half page for every day. So you could write literally everything down. And that was, again, because I was doing so many things. But really what worked best for me was having that planner, setting my alarms, beforehand, not setting my alarms the night before, basically setting my alarm out of an emotion saying, oh, I'm tired, I want to sleep in tomorrow. No, it's every day at 5, 6 a.m. guy. Like that's non-negotiable. But sticking to that plan, again, it's just, that's the key. You can have a planner, you can have a mental little checklist. It doesn't matter. It's about sticking to it and not letting.
I do something like that with the alarm set every 5 minutes to go off.
See, that's exactly what you don't want to do because you're basically allowing yourself the opportunity for that cop out.
So you guys watching, whether you're watching live or watching the recording on the YouTube channel, what do you use to plan? Do you write things on a notepad? Do you have a planner? Do you use an app on your phone? Go ahead and share with us. Throw it in the comment box whether you're watching us live or watching our recording. We want to know from you examples of what you're doing to plan your day effectively. So part of planning effectively, obviously, is to use reminder tools, right? So to increase your productivity level. So what are some tools that you use that you can share with the people watching tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So, your phone, it's honestly the most powerful tool that anybody has access to. Setting reminders on your phone, using the calendar on your phone. It's really just down to the basics, honestly. If you want to get more complex in terms of outlining projects in detail, then I would recommend using this free website app called Asana, Asana. I use it for my team. I use it for myself to maintain organization again, because if any task or project has more than 5 steps, I'm not gonna play roulette with myself. I'm gonna go ahead and write it down and organize it into steps that I can follow.
Awesome. Brandon over says she uses the calendar, and I'm not sure what this is supposed to say. A task manager. I think we lost the last couple of words there. Amarilla says pen and paper. Right. That's what I do too.
Oh yeah.
I try using my smartphone to put things on my calendar, or even a calendar itself, and I just always forget to put things down. I forget to check it. I just write things on pieces of paper, so that works for me sometimes. So, so moving on. What about aspirations? So I had this interesting. Someone asked me a question: are writing down your aspirations a part of being organized? Like, for example, going to the gym, eating, meal prepping, hanging out with friends or family, whatever. Is that part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, like I said, organization, it is beyond work. If you have an organized personal life, you have a better chance to have an organized work life, and vice versa. So I think they all work one and the same. And so when I'm, trying to, achieve my fitness goals or whatever it may be, it's important to start mentally, like, okay, why is this important to write down, first of all? And then let's go ahead and write down what the goal is and how we're going to achieve it. But it's really important that you define why it's important, because a lot of folks have a hard time not starting something new, but finishing it or continuing that process. The main example that I can think of being weight loss or fitness journeys, because we see it all the time, especially during the new year. It's, oh yeah, it's going to be 2021 soon. We have a New Year's resolution. We're going to go ahead and work out every day. And then come next Tuesday, we abandon our gym membership. And so it happens all the time, right? So that's why it's really important not just to write down like the plan and goal, but consistently remind yourself why this goal is important. That way you can build that mental fortitude and actually follow through on your promise to yourself. We
got a good question from Kira watching. She wants to know if you have any tips for organization with someone that has ADD.
I have ADHD. I've been diagnosed with ADHD. And so that's a good question, Kira. So for me, it's removing distractions. You have to take on that responsibility of, it's not my fault that I have ADD or ADHD, but it is my responsibility to get my life on track. And one way that I definitely do that, and again, you can take what you like and discard what you don't. There's no harm, no foul there. But for me, I remove all distractions. So if there's, let's say, if my phone is getting in the way when I work, it's going on do not disturb, and it's going to be across the room from me. If, let's say, if playing video games is a problem, well, then I'll make sure that the controller to play is as out of sight as possible. Just make it hard for yourself to get distracted, if that makes sense. So if you can be honest with yourself and say, hey, A, B, and C are a problem for me when I'm trying to get things done, then A, B, and C are not going to be around. And you have to just take on that responsibility and say, this is what needs to be done.
Awesome. And Felicia has a comment. She has a top 10 list every day, things that she must do in order to be successful throughout the day. So that's interesting. So Felicia, I got a question for you. What if you don't get to all of your top 10 tasks though? What happens? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. If you're still watching, throw that in the comment box. I'm sure that's happened from time to time. So moving on to our next question here.
Yeah.
How can someone prioritize what is essential part of their plan and not essential? So basically weeding out what's most important and what's not.
Oh man, I struggle with this every day. So yeah, I mean, it starts with the why. It definitely starts with the why. When you define that project goal or purpose or why you're doing what you're doing, you're much more easily able to look at little bumps in the road and say, okay, is this necessary to deal with? Is this part of accomplishing my goal? Or is this just a sidetrack that's part of another goal or a potential goal down the road? And you just have to look at it with rationale and say, okay, as easy as it is for me to drop everything and then go on to this, it's not part of my current goal. And again, that's why being organized is so important. When you can define your goal, why they're important, and the steps they're in, you are much more able to recognize potential distractors and say, nah, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So what are some qualities that someone has to maintain in order to be successful, be organized to minimize stress? For example, being flexible.
Yes. So being consistent is definitely one of them. You got to be grateful. You got to definitely be grateful, especially with more problems that you take on and more responsibility. For me, at least, if I were to take a moment every single time I've been inconvenienced or something doesn't go my way and I complain about it, for me, at least, if I'm complaining, I'm not making progress. So, you can take a second and be frustrated and say, oh man, that sucks. But you got to be flexible. You got to work with yourself and say, hey, look, that happened. But if we just adjust here, potentially we can get back on track by the end of the day. And then if you can't, again, if you don't accomplish everything on one day, you just have to be flexible and say, okay, cool, this is going to get done tomorrow. And let me go ahead and self-reflect and see, okay, where did I do well? Where are my shortcomings? And what do I need to adjust tomorrow to do better? And none of that you have to write down. You literally just have to have a conversation with yourself and say, okay, I sucked at that today, and just be honest. And so you have to be flexible, not just with the things that happen around you, but with yourself in terms of, again, you have to work with the problems that arise, but you have to allow your mind to be flexible and say, okay, I know I can do better. I know I can be better. So let's be better.
It sounds like the same thing as being a teacher in the classroom. You always got to self-reflect and look at yourself and see what you did good and bad and be honest with yourself. And
exactly.
do to be better. It's kind of the same thing, just the grand scheme of life. Right?
Yeah. If you're trying to be better every day, then you can look back months from now and say, I just climbed a mountain. Do
you think, but from accumulating tasks and trying to knock everything out and making sure that you're successful during the day, and what do you say to somebody who has all these lists of things to do and they feel like they can do them, but then all of a sudden they turn around and it's 11, 12 o'clock at night and they've been doing this stuff all day? What do you say to someone? Is there you think that there's a certain cutoff point during the day that someone should say, hey, at 7 p.m., if I don't do certain things, they're going to wait till the next day? Or do you think it's just based on the individual?
Well, yeah. Different plans work for different people. But for the majority of the people that I know that really intentionally exhibit organization, they have certain non-negotiables that they go into the day with. Then they have kind of these extracurricular goals that would be nice to get done if you can get to them. And generally, those are the people in my life that I've seen as the happiest, because they know what's important. They know what's kind of like a superficial kind of thing. And so they were able to be okay with getting a certain, part of their day done. And I believe that, what was that second part of that question? Because there was something I really wanted to say on that.
Do you feel like everyone should have like a certain cutoff time? Like if you don't have things, you just keep going until you'll do it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it really depends on like the task. Like for me, last week, I just released one of my first true course on my website. And, we were kind of hitting a deadline. And so I had no option. Like I had to get it done. So that's an example of, okay, you got to do this. Like there's the timer on this. But then there's on the other extreme, trying to do something new, like, oh, I'm going to get my first workout in. That's also a non-negotiable. Like if you said you were going to get your first run in months tonight and it's 8:30 and you're sitting there like, oh man, I can leave this for tomorrow. That is the easiest way to never actually run. Like you just get up, go outside, do 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 40 seconds. Doesn't matter. Just get something in so that you can have that self-worth really just affirmed in you. But then there's that middle ground. There's things that you do every day. And if it's like 8:30 p.m. and you're like, man, I'm just exhausted. And, I really don't want to, let's go ahead and say it's, I'm trying to think of an example that would actually be really, like, even if it's doing the dishes, I guess, let's say you've just had an exhausting day. I mean, for me personally, that's therapeutic to do dishes after a long day because I'm not thinking about anything. But for some people, it's like, I've been doing physical labor all day. I just want a break tonight. That's cool. Like you deserve a break every now and then. But if it's part of the extreme, like a deadline-based goal or something that you want to start for the first time, you owe it to yourself to do it that day. But everything in between, give yourself some leeway.
Is that kind of like, I wake up in the morning, say, I plan to go to the gym and go, I'm a little tired. Maybe I'll do it later. And then you don't do it. And then it's the next day and it's like a vicious cycle when you put things off.
Yep, exactly. That's why you have to have those goals to stick to.
Awesome. So can you share some examples in your life where organization was the only way to succeed, to be successful?
Yeah. So let me take y'all back to 2015. So 2015, it was my spring semester of college, getting my bachelor's degree in math education. And so I was lucky enough to be selected to be part of the pilot program for Florida Virtual School's internship program. And so pretty much what that entailed was it was a full-time internship. And it was glorious. Like I worked for Florida Virtual School at 20 years old and I was happy as heck. It was awesome. But it was 40 hours a week unpaid. So with that said, I'm a college kid. I'm paying rent. I'm trying to graduate. I'm trying to get a job and I need money to survive at this point and partially to feed some nightlife stuff. So I'm sitting here like, okay, what do I do? I'm working 40 hours a week for free. What the heck do I do? So I had a job at the UCF gym. I had a job at UCF Housing, working with residents. I was also tutoring as well. And then I had the full-time internship. And then I believe I was helping some friends out in my math classes. And so I'm sitting there like, how am I supposed to get all this and still have my life together? And so I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, well, the only option that I have right now is to be organized. If I want to enjoy my spring semester, my final semester of college, regardless if I'm working 65 plus hours a week or not, I'm going to have to be organized. And so again, there was no time for complaining, no time for, oh, what was me? Why me? No, this is an opportunity to elevate my life, because I knew that my last semester of college was not going to be my hardest semester of life. So I was like, all right, cool. Let's go ahead and just bite the bullet, get this done. And that semester really is what defined my character in terms of being able to be the person I was with you, being able to just achieve what I achieved today. It was the whole attitude of, okay, I can sit here and complain, or I can just get crap done. And I chose the latter.
Yeah. And then when you're giving examples of like specific life goals, like getting a degree, like, when I was going for my degree, going through, I taught public school when I was doing my doctorate degree, teaching public school Monday through Friday, working at Disney World Saturday and Sunday, and then 2 classes a week during the week. So people were like, are you freaking crazy? I don't know how I did it, but I had to get up early. I had to do my readings, my assignments, go to school, utilize my time, and then stay up late. And, it just, that was probably one of the rare times not that I'm not that crazy unorganized now, but that period of my life for that 6 years where I did that program and worked full time and had a part-time job, that was probably the one part of my life where I had to get things done and I had to prioritize and I had to organize my day. Because if I didn't, that's bad news, because then you don't do well in your classes. Then you're not teaching well in the classroom, and then not showing up for your part-time job on the weekend. So, and it's kind of the same way when we work with teachers, work with thousands of teachers every year to help them pass their certification exams across the United States. So that's a big life goal, because without passing the exam, either you're not getting into your program at your College of Education, or you're not keeping your job. So certain things, when it comes to priority and organizing your day, certain things have to go top level of importance versus other things. So it's about managing that.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So to follow up with that question, what's an example in your life where you failed due to disorganization? Because we've all failed from time to time. Yeah,
absolutely. So I have one small example and one catastrophic one. So the minor one was, I think it was a junior in college, and I was taking this class called Modern Geometry. So for my non-math people out there, pretty much it was a class where, how triangles, their angles add up to 180 degrees. In this class, they didn't. Okay, it was a messed up class. Yeah, it was messed up. Like everything was flipped on its head. But the class itself, it was hard, it was challenging, but it wasn't unmanageable. My problem was, I think at this point in my life, I had just moved out of my parents' place. I wanted to know what it was like to pay rent and stuff, and I wanted to be organized. And so that whole new phase of my life, coupled with a barrage of math classes that were seriously like, the listeners out there, that SpongeBob meme where he's holding onto his knees, just out of breath. That's what that semester was for me. And because I was so unorganized, just all of these things at once, I almost failed that class. I needed a 98 on the final to pass the class. Thankfully, that shocked me into getting a 104 on it. And I ended up passing by the skin of my teeth. But that was a minor one, actually. My major one was actually when I started my calculus website, because at the time when I released it, I believed that I was building the greatest product I ever could, right? I'm like, this is amazing. This is going to be the bee's knees. But what I didn't realize, what I didn't plan for, was it is not about a product. It is about the marketing behind that product. So you can have the best thing ever, but if you can't market it, you will never be a successful businessman. And so that's what punched me right in the mouth after I built that website.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. So what would you say to someone that gets stressed out when they can't accomplish all their daily goals?
Be realistic with yourself. You gotta be realistic. You can say that you want to be Superman, but if you do not have his characteristics, it's not reasonable for you to expect that out of yourself. It's like saying, oh, I'm going to compare myself to Usain Bolt. I'm going to go ahead and go to the track today, and I'm going to go ahead and run, 45 sprints. That is impossible for a regular person to do. You just have to be realistic with yourself and be okay that you are trying your best. And if you're not trying your best, again, be real with yourself. You know, you got to go ahead and scold yourself and say, okay, if I didn't do my best and I know I didn't do my best, then we're going to do better tomorrow. But you can't play victim. You know, you can't play victim. If you didn't accomplish all of your goals for the day, it's either because you expected too much out of yourself or you didn't work hard enough or somewhere in between. And so you just have to be honest with yourself and be okay with the results.
Yeah. And if you're a person that, and like most people, you know, I'm not the most organized person. You know, I get by and I have my good days and bad days. You're definitely a lot more organized than me. So I've known you for a couple of years now. So, but for everybody else who's wanting to get on a better track, it's just like anything else in life. You got to learn and you got to be willing to grow and understand that certain things are going to happen, certain things aren't. But you were talking about, you have something you want to share. Was there a book or something you used to help plan your day?
Yeah, this book it's called Design Your Day by Claire Diaz-Ortiz. She's one of the earliest employees of Twitter. I believe she's one of the co-founders, if I'm not mistaken. And this book is so powerful. It's super small. I think it's barely like 100 pages. It's like 120 pages, and it's such a small book with easy to read text. But pretty much there's this one paradigm that is taught in this book. There's a couple, but the acronym PRESENT is the biggest takeaway that changed my life, honestly. And PRESENT, PRESENT, stands for pray, read, express, schedule, exercise, nourish, and track. If you complete those 7 things on a daily basis, it's without a doubt going to change the way that you go about your days in terms of that feeling of accomplishment, that feeling of, you know, burnout subsiding almost all the time. Because again, if you are reading, if you are expressing yourself, if you are scheduling your days out and you know what to expect, then you can maintain that organization within yourself and that realism with yourself so that you know what you can and cannot do.
Awesome. All right. So we all get sidetracked all the time with things, for especially like social media nowadays. What kind of advice would you give to someone who finds themselves always falling in that wormhole of social media? You know, gets like I do that all the time. Someone posts a comment on something, or I get a notification. All of a sudden, I go from answering a question to let me check YouTube, let me check Instagram, let me check my email. What would you say to somebody?
I may be the wrong person to ask on that. I fall into that trap too. But sometimes when I catch myself falling into that trap, I always say the same thing to myself. And this is echoing the words of the great Gary Vee. The question is, are you a consumer or a producer? And as an entrepreneur, I'm like, I want to be a producer. And so when that happens, if I find myself scrolling sometimes, I honestly, me personally, I have a 5-second window to either drop the phone or continue scrolling for the next 45 minutes. And so when I catch myself in that mode, I'm like, oh crap, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. My consumer producer, phone off, throw it across the room, keep going. That's how I have to do it, because if I don't do it in that dramatic way, then I get trapped.
Is anybody out there watching? I know we got a bunch of people watching live, and whether you're watching live or they're recording, anyone feel like they always get sidetracked with that thing that's always attached to our hands all the time? Anderson, do you ever have times where you structure where you don't touch any social media, or no, put your phone down, or no computer? Would you suggest that for people during the day, to plan certain hours during the day where they, regardless of the situation, no technology?
Yeah, it's healthy. It's healthy to take a break from your screen, honestly, because all social media are just microdoses of dopamine. And if you don't know what dopamine is, I'll save you all the science behind it, but pretty much it's the happy chemical in your brain. And so when you kind of feel like, you're scrolling down, you see something positive or something that captures your attention, bing, 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 that's a little hit of dopamine every time. And so that's where phone addiction comes in, because people that rely on their phone for that sense of satisfaction, those are the people that get trapped in there. Those are the people that Facebook makes their money off of from the ads. Like, that's who those people are. And so for me, like, I try not to be on my phone, toward the beginning of my day when I'm just working on production and stuff. And at the end of the day, typically after 9 p.m. And I'm saying that very loosely and as a hypocrite, because half the time I'm on my phone. But as long as you are continuously thinking about it and trying to be intentional about getting better, then, eventually someday along the line, you'll get better at it.
I can't speak for Android, but I know I never open it because I don't want to really see, but they show you screen time stats on there. So I'm usually on my phone for work, obviously, and answering people's questions and stuff. But you guys definitely challenge you if you know how to to access that information on your phone. It'll show you how many hours and minutes, all that kind of stuff that you're spending during each day on average checking stuff online. So it might be a little scary to look at that for some people when they check that out.
iPhone does it now too.
Yeah, I get I get a message saying your stats are here to click on it, but I don't open that stuff. All right, so many people use the phrase set realistic expectations. What does this mean to you, and how can we make sure we do that?
Oh, I love that question. I actually overlooked that one. So yeah, but I actually love it because realistic expectations are basically, it's the idea of looking at what you have accomplished and say, okay, I've done that before. This is a realistic baseline for tomorrow. And so you can set that expectation for yourself and say, okay, cool. Like if I worked, 5 hours and got an essay done and made a podcast episode and did these things, cool. That's my baseline. That's where I'm going to start. One thing I definitely try not to do is say, oh man, I want to feel like Superman tomorrow and I want to get A, B, C, D, E, F, all the way to Y. I want to get all these things done because it would be great if I did. Well, guess what? Even if you did accomplish all of those things, you are sacrificing your state of mind for that. Because again, you still need to make time for personal self-care and all these things. Now, again, there are exceptions like project deadlines and all of these things that require a timely response. But at the end of the day, setting real expectations is really all about, again, getting what you need to get done while not sacrificing your state of mind or personal time.
How would you tell when you get into that point where you're sacrificing your state of mind?
When that internal monologue is not there anymore. During the day, I'm not everybody has an internal monologue, but for me, when there's thoughts going through my head, when those thoughts completely subside and stop, and I just find myself in a grind, the grind is healthy for a certain point, for a certain time period. But then once you start feeling like your body heat up and you've been at it for a while and your mouth is dry and you're not taking care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And so you got to recognize that when you just get up, take a break, walk around for a second. And that's all it takes sometimes, 5-10 minutes of walking around. That's self-care.
Mm-hmm. Can you kind of walk us through like your typical day of how you organize your day? What do you find for yourself?
Yeah, so these days it's I get up at the time I get up, usually sometime between like 5-6:30. And so, once I get up, I typically walk my dog. And while I'm walking my dog, I usually get myself into that mindset for the day. So I'll listen to a motivational video on YouTube. If you don't have YouTube Premium, you should definitely get it. It's great having no ads. So I'll listen to like a motivational video or a video either by Les Brown or something about sales or something that will get me into a positive mindset for the day by just being, grateful for what I have and identifying the person that I can be. So if I start my day off like that every day, typically I find that I can get like 20 to 30% more done without sacrificing that mindset. And so once I get back in from walking the dog, I'm already jacked up. I'm jacked up. I have breakfast. I sit down and my mind's already going. I'm starting to think about all the things I need to get done for the day. But the great thing is most times the night before, I'll make a little list. This is these are my goals for the day. And so all my mind is centered around is all the creative ways that I can get those things done, which makes it a funner or more enjoyable process. Because if you're spending the first hour of your day just trying to figure out what you're going to do, dude, that sucks. That sucks. You're taking away that mental capacity. But if you set the goals the night before, then you're being creative all day long and not, just expending mental energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. You made a good point there about setting the stage the night before. So you say tell somebody that before you go to sleep at night to kind of sit down and plan out what you're going to do the following day, listing all those tasks versus doing it in the morning.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you're thinking and doing, then going back between planning and doing, that's mentally exhausting. But if you give yourself those goals the night before, then all you're doing is doing the next day, which again saves you a lot of that mental fatigue.
Does that also include things like, laying your clothes out or what you're going to eat the next day and things like that too? Yeah. So I've gotten away from setting out what I'm going to eat, but laying my clothes out, that's something that, I just moved into a new place, but before I moved in here,
I was always laying my clothes out the night before in terms of getting ready for the next day, because I got that from Steve Jobs. I remember an interview that he had. I believe it was on, I think like the Today Show or the Night Show or something like that, on one of those channels. But he was talking about how he wore the same thing every day because he didn't want having to make a mental decision that would take up his mental capacity, which I thought was an extreme. Obviously it is, but he got what he got done because of that. So laying out my clothes, thinking about what I'm eating for the day, planning out the time that it's going to take for me to get from point A to point B. Like I used to schedule down to the 15-minute increments for my day. I used to do that. It's not necessary anymore, but if I did do it, I'd probably be in a much more elevated position now.
Mm-hmm. Do you think like people should plan certain tasks to accomplish, or do you think there's a way to to plan out certain blocks of time to do certain types of things? Like, for example, responding to social media people, people during this hour of the day, or answering emails during this hour of the day, or doing this versus specific tasks. Is there a difference, or do you think it's kind of the same thing?
You got to meet it in the middle for sure, because as well as I learned this from you, when it comes to making sales, if someone hits you up at, if you say, I'm going to cut my social media off at 11 a.m. so I can get these things done, but then someone reaches out to you at 11:02 wanting to buy something, what are you doing? You're running a business, you're trying to make sales, and you want to make sure that you attend to that customer. So you got to be flexible with that one for sure. But you do have to be strict with what you're trying to accomplish, because will you be able to get to everybody? No, because then you'll never make progress. But if you see that it's convenient for you to respond to someone quickly, make sure you do that, but with something stamped on your forehead saying, hey, don't forget what you are currently doing. That way you can do that, really address that person without then, right after you address them, going right into the rabbit hole of social media. Like, oh, I wonder what's here. Oh, what's that? Just basically, okay, I'm addressing you. I'm back to what I'm doing. Addressing you, back to what I'm doing. Not, I'm going to address you and then get shiny object syndrome and twiddle your fingers for the next 45 minutes.
What am I doing? All right, I got to do this too, so let me start doing that one. Before you got 10 different things going on.
Right, exactly. So before I even address them, say, okay, I'm going to address it and then go back to what I was doing.
Awesome. All right. So everybody, regardless of who you are watching now live or the recording, we all understand that everybody has crazy days. Some days are a little more relaxed. Some are hectic. Some of you guys have crazy days every day of the week. So what are some things that you do to break your tasks to relax? And while Anderson's answering, go ahead and share in the comments as they're watching. What are some things that you do to kind of relax as well?
Well, so my girlfriend knows I'm notorious for not taking breaks. So burnout is something that I've definitely been getting better at. Definitely have gotten better at. I'm still getting better at it. But relaxing for me, it's going on a bike ride or taking my dog out for a walk. Anything that takes me physically out of this environment, to me, is relaxing, because I need to, recharge that mental battery. So for me, again, because I'm confined to this space, anytime that I'm out of it and actually engaged in something that has my mind occupied as well, that's all fair game. Because people believe that just removing themselves physically is enough, but you have to remove yourself mentally as well. So whatever you do, whether it's grabbing a drink with friends or, enjoying your nights with whatever you do, like, again, you have to define that for yourself, and you have to make sure that your work life or whatever that takes, that stresses you out the most, you got to make sure that that stays out of your head while you're doing something else. I
got my man Matt here. Matt, what do you do to relax?
Hey, what's going on?
There, man. It got you.
You did. I right then I was doing it then. Just kidding. No. Same. Go for walks. Try to get on the bike. Couple of Simpsons episodes at the end when I just need my brain to actually just shut down. So awesome. I don't know. I'm learning a lot here. So let's get back to that.
Notes on you there. All right. So going for walks, stuff like that. Yes. I mean, I try my best to kind of stop sometimes. And, my way to relax is maybe to try to take a nap or something like that. But that doesn't always work out.
Nah, that's roulette, man. Is it going to be 4 minutes or 4 hours? Like, no, I don't know.
We got some people got some comments here. Sleepy Bird says, I like to journal when I'm feeling stressed or anxious. I can organize my thoughts. I can also go back to what I enjoy doing, such as drawing and making music. Awesome. So that's good suggestions there. Journaling. So Kira says books. going to the beach, depending on where you are watching this. You want to say something, Anderson?
Yeah, no, I want to shout out Lisa. I love that app. The Headspace app. Yeah, so it was right before Kira. So it's like I meditate using the Headspace app. That app is actually amazing. I used to live by it. I did it for like a whole year. And it was a great program in terms of kind of, again, like treating your mind like a house and organizing it and making sure that, again, you don't let those stressors come in. If anybody wants to learn how to meditate in a very casual way, Headspace app, absolutely.
Like with LeBron, is that the one I always LeBron doing the meditation with his headphones? I think it's.
Oh, no, that's the Calm app.
Oh, it's for Calm.
Yeah, it's Calm. Yeah.
Oh, is there a difference between the two?
So I started. I tried the Calm app. I think there are a few other celebrities on there. I mean, I don't doubt that it's a good app, but being that LeBron and other celebrities are behind it, it drives the cost way up. So, if you like notoriety, sure, go for it. But if you want to get the job done, Headspace is for you.
All right, so get some sun, Caroline, get some sunshine, something to drink, something to eat, to relax. Oh, Esau and reading endorsement work. Yeah, that's definitely fun during the summer. All right, so we got a couple more questions here before we wrap it up. Actually, the last one here, and if you guys have any questions for Anderson, whether you're watching it live or the recording, go and throw them in the comment box. So we kind of like every time we do these episodes, we kind of sum it up with as we enter the new school year. So since we're talking about organization and relieving your stress, what's one piece of advice you can give or you can share with educators as we move into the next school year? And you could also maybe at the same time or separately address people who are not in education, because I'm sure there's going to be people who stumble on and watch this video that aren't teachers. So
right.
What's some advice that you can share with people?
Yeah, I think the sincerest advice that I can give is like, remember that as much as you want to be, you're not in control of every part that you want to be in control of. And as an educator, my educators know what I'm talking about. We feel like policy holds us back. We feel like certain things may hold us back from being the best educators that we can be for the kids. And so the advice that I would give is, as easy as it is to focus on what you can't control, focus on what you can control. Focus on your attitude. Focus on the behavior management. Focus on making sure that these kids are better today than they were yesterday. Just whatever you can do around these constraints and handcuffs that we have on ourselves. And this applies to any profession, really, because every profession has its own handcuffs. Every person has a handcuff. It's called the law, right? So, just work within the parameters that you have. That way you can be as positive as you can be, not just for yourself, but to really, be that light bulb for everybody else around you, because people pick up on your vibe. People absolutely do. And just remember that your vibe is, how you present yourself is some days, especially non-vocally, more important than your teaching.
Yeah, especially for our teachers out there, when you're in the classroom and you're not organized or seem stressed. I don't care if you teach kindergarten, all the way middle school, high school, seniors, even if you're a college professor out there, your kids pick up when you feel like you're not organized and stressed out. Because like you said, it's not even the words coming out of your mouth, it's your body language. So even if they're 5-year-old students sitting in the classroom, they're looking at you, they know. So I like it. You had a lot of common themes you mentioned a couple of times, Anderson, tonight, but the bottom line is you're always thinking about how you're helping other people versus yourself. Because you talked about becoming a better teacher for the students and organizing to help other people. So that's definitely a great perspective to have, and a great way to focus your efforts on designing your day and alleviating the stress, because ultimately it's the people you encounter you're going to affect no matter what your profession is. Doesn't matter if you're a teacher or not a teacher. So let's see if we got, and make sure we had all of these questions here. Got a couple minutes before we're going to wrap this up. Also, Sleepy Bird also says our focus is educating and enlightening her students. We had somebody that asked a little specific question, and I think this person was just in our math webinar, and hopefully you're still on. Brandon Nova asked a question about studying for math tests, for example. How you organize your day. Let's kind of convert that to organizing, studying for a big exam, for example, your GK math test.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the same thing that I said earlier. You want to treat anything that you're studying for like a house, like a dirty, crazy, messed up house. Do not try to tackle 2 rooms at the same time. Like, 1 room is a behemoth enough as it is. So, just stick to 1 room or stick to 1 skill and make sure that you do not move on from that skill until you can at least verbalize what you are doing in some way, shape, or form. I'm a firm believer in, and I said this in the webinar, in order to learn any skill, there's 3 facets. There's reading it, watching it, and doing it. And so just make sure that you can hit all 3, no matter what skill it is that you're trying to learn, and then move on to the next once you can read it, watch it, and do it.
Awesome. So thank you, Anderson, for spending time with us here on a Monday night. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your insight into organization. You definitely have taught me, or tried to teach me, some things when it comes to organization. Many a times that you attempted, and I try. Share
my experience, man.
So I appreciate you. So hang out for a minute, Matt. Well, let's talk a little bit quick about who's coming up next week. Matt, you got that for me? All right, so next week, we always got cool things going on here every week here at Deets with Dr. Ray. So like I said at the beginning, typically we do these at 6 p.m., but we did a math webinar beforehand with Anderson, so that's why we bumped the time up. But next week, we've got Mrs. Nicole Gengot, who is actually a recent Teacher of the Year from Pinellas County. I don't know if anyone here is from Pinellas County or knows where Pinellas County is. That's on close to the west coast of Florida. And she's going to talk about with me how you can help students become the best versions of themselves. So that's a very broad topic. We'll talk about a bunch of cool things. And actually, Nicole is one of our newest team members here at the Learning Liaison. She's coming on to be our PK through 3 specialist, early childhood. And we're worried. She's actually going to be driving here tomorrow to the office to film some of our new PK through 3 boot camps. So great team member, great educator, and she's going to have some very interesting things to share with you. And this is for teachers, and this also could be for parents as well. So definitely tune in next Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And keep in mind, and we can bring that one down, that map. Thank you. So keep in mind that all of our recordings here are on our YouTube channel. So we have a special playlist called the Deets with Dr. A, so you can catch all of them on your own time. We've had topics on distance learning, bullying. We had a principal on to talk about how to keep your job. So we talk about some certification things, but this is all professional development, relevant, engaging during the times of things that you need. So if there are any topics that you think we need to address, let us know. And Matt, if you want to one last time, throw up that text number on there. So if you want to get a list of our upcoming guest list, we're going to go ahead and throw something cool on the screen for you. Text the word Deets, all capital letters, to that phone number on the screen, and it'll shoot you a link to our website where it has our upcoming guest list. So we have guests listed all the way through August. I've got a handful to add as well. We've got some school districts coming on I'm real excited about to talk about, how they help new teachers, how do they support new teachers. We've got some great people from around the country that are going to talk about how to do distance learning as well, a lot of different topics, some more technology topics as well. We're going to have a lot of sessions on social emotional learning coming up too. That's definitely a hot button topic that a lot of teachers want to learn about and give their insights. So definitely check us out. So if you can't, I know Monday nights can be crazy. The last thing you want to do is come listen to us online. And we have a lot of people that come here every Monday night. So if sometimes you can't make it, I won't get mad at you. The good news is we got those episodes on our YouTube channel at the Learning Liaison. So with that being said, thank you for spending another Monday evening with us. Have a great rest of your night, even better week, and a rock star weekend. And we'll catch you next Monday night at 6 p.m. for another episode of the Deets with Dr. A. We'll see you then.